your reality of who pushes each one of your lanes is going to be dependent on like your rank. The way that this, quote unquote, should play out doesn't actually matter, at least from a holistic point of view. The way it works out at Challenger, if I'm a Challenger player, or Bronze, if I'm a Bronze player, is what really matters. So I'm going to make my predictions, but keep in mind my predictions are going to be skewed in like a different like point of view because I'm not playing at your rank. Okay.
Yeah.
So I do think Darius should push this lane. But the reason why I had a pause was because when Garen has mm, Ignite, things can get weird because he might want to fight the Darius because Ignite would beat out Ghost, right? Because Ghost isn't a combat summoner, at least not a good one. And so Ignite would beat out the Ghost if they started the fight and it was going to be like somewhat even. But I would imagine at Bronze, it's still more likely that this person will push. I think. I would imagine at lower ranks, it's more likely that Syndra just spams Q over and over again. And then Caitlyn typically pushes every lane, especially melee versus ranged jungler. And then I would imagine they're going to start here. Do again? I have no idea whether people at lower ranks do like 4 camps or 3 camps. If I was assuming they were good, I would imagine they do 3 camps, which means they have 2 options on their gank pathing. And then this is where they're going to go for a gank. I do think Udyr is like a tough early game jungle to fight, but I do think it's regardless of who wins, the fact that we have double priority on the top side, and the fact that there's no chance is the Udyr should be able to like one shot me, which means the priority in the lane is going to be important, and I'm going to have priority in both my lanes, so they'll be able to help me. That I think I'm okay with running into him anywhere. I have priority in all 3 lanes, so long as he doesn't burst me out before my teammates can get there, I'm completely fine with running into him. And so, what do I want to achieve? Now, I can go for a counter gank. Do I think I win the top lane counter gank? Again, it's funky because Garen has Ignite, and I think these are all like decent early game junglers, right? They all are pretty good or early game champions. They're all very scrappy, and so I would probably have to take a guess because I don't have enough real. I think they're all really close, and that's why I think the Ignite kind of pushes the enemy team up because I think it's close, but extra combat summoner is a pretty big deal. Now, if you think Olaf destroys Udyr, then you might think differently. Um, but I think top lane is risky, and I don't like going for risk on whether I'd win the gank or not. Now, I could change my mind by the time I'm up there if my Darius has like 200 more HP than the Garen, right? I can change my mind later, but in my prediction, I don't really want to go for a counter gank top. If I look at middle, I think it's almost the same thing where it's pretty even. I do think Syndra's better than Zillion early, but Zillion has Ignite, and that's a pretty big deal when it comes to these early games fights. So I actually don't like the prospect of counter ganking, at least not with the current information. But again, I can always update my information based on what happens in the game. Are you keeping up with me?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I'm just breaking this down the way I would, if
Yeah.
I was the one playing, and we'll see whether um, I would have ran into the same troubles you did. So what does that mean I'm gonna do? I can't go for any just straight up ganks based on my predictions. If the lanes are as pushed as they are going to be in theory. In which case, I can try to deny ganks, which means I can ward up the top side and then run my way bottom, or I can just ping and try to protect my teammates with pings, or I'll just try to do some kind of jungle, like efficient jungle clears. Now, the answer for me when I'm watching this is going to be maybe a little bit more advanced, and that's something I normally recommend. But I probably would try to start this game by invading the top side, actually. And the reason for that would be if I can start at this guy's top side and then ward his top side, um, it's gonna mess up his path for doing these ganks. And so I'm invading, but with the purpose of denying his top and mid gank. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I would. That's one way. Again, that's a little bit more advanced. If I let me try to think of like a little less advanced way of doing this, because I don't normally suggest starting in the enemy side jungle, because I don't normally do it. Because normally there's a better option. But so if I wasn't gonna do that, I think there's two like more clear routes. Um, One route would be okay. Wait, I want to go over one more advanced one because I think another advanced thing that you could do to try to get first blood would be a blue into bot side gank route. And the purpose of this would be because you're going to be level 2, and because Nautilus has no flash, if you run bottom immediately, so long as Morgana lands her Q, you guys should be able to kill this Nautilus and get first blood before the Olaf is able to get his topside gank. Again, a little bit more advanced again because it relies on a teammate and it relies on understanding like the likelihood of the bottom side gank working. But I do think that's a pretty strong option, especially like if you watch my YouTube video on like getting 7 kills in 7 minutes where I level 2 gank bottom. Like I do that because I know if people play the game correctly, it's a little 100% guaranteed kill. And I actually think that's the same case here with Nautilus. Nautilus is most likely going to be up here, over here in the lane. If Morgana just commits to just flashing right on top of the Nautilus to make it impossible to miss her Q, then I jump on Nautilus, and so long as you stand in front of him so he can't hook away from you guys, this bot side gank is 100% free for sure. Like Nautilus should die, and you can even make it more guaranteed by asking Caitlyn to start trap. Because then after Morgana flash Qs and binds the Nautilus, the Caitlyn will then get the root with her trap. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now again, it's more advanced because it has to do with sequencing and it also has to do with coordinating with your teammates. But I think it's worth mentioning so you can kind of see that there's always options. You know what I mean? That was an option. This was another good option. And I'm gonna give you one more simple option. So if my job instead was maybe to just do jungle efficiency, I'm probably now this does have to do with how well you clear. But on Olaf, you shouldn't need both your health potions. I know that. In which case, you could start the game with what's the item? You can start the game with control ward and place it in either of these routes, and then do your clear without your health potions. That's one way of trying to deny the game, is placing one of these control wards to start the game. Another route would be to topside clear, and then drop this ward. If you want to be a little bit more defensive for your teammate, you might drop it out farther because Udyr is kind of fast. So you might want to drop it out here on your way down to the bottom side. And so what you do here is you do the top side clear and then you basically rotate and then do this. And then you ping for your top. You just warn your top laner and you ward for your mid laner. And I think this is the way of beating him through just jungle efficiency. Especially because with this route, if we get new information, we could always decide like, oh, our Darius is destroying that Garen, we can counter gank now, and so we're gonna end up running here. Or we can see that our Syndra is pushed up and our Garen's not, or our Darius didn't push up, in which case we can counter gank middle if our Syndra is actually ahead. So this option is like a basic, like the most basic option, but it also gives you the most options. Like you can end up just trying to win through efficiency. You're going to still try to deny the gank. You could still end up counter ganking top, and you could still end up counter ganking middle. So this one has a lot of promise. It is probably what I would suggest. Again, I could probably go on and give you like another good option, but I think you kind of get the point that there's all these different correct options, right? Now a couple of them were more advanced. I do think this one's more simple though, because all we're doing is clearing the side that we might change our mind on, And then whenever we're leaving, we're trying to deny this gank. We're gonna ping for this gank, and then we're gonna go take the camps that our prediction says he won't be doing. Any comments?
Nope.
Okay. Well, let's go see what happened. Oh, it looks like a couple people are in the chat. Do you see what Child said? Are you looking at the chat?
No.
So
What
Child,
is it?
this is someone outside coach. What up, Tom Bet? And he said initial jungle path thing is so strong but so hard. Is that? Do you feel like it's doing what I just like did? It's hard.
Trying to predict what a bronze 2 would do is kind of hard. Or the other. Yeah. They're very weird.
Yeah, but they're again for you. That's what you're playing against all the time, right? So I refuse to believe there's no pattern. There must be a pattern to what they do. Okay, so hold on. I wanted to check something. So we can see that top didn't leash because they start combating immediately. And so it's likely that our enemy started bottom. I keep going back because I'm looking at different things. Because I know you don't do well in this game, so I want to see whether, like, how many different things we could have changed early game to get you to the point where you can perform this well. So for some reason you haven't used your Q yet. There's no reason not to use your Q immediately just to get it on cooldown, right? Like when we talk about like long sequencing and using your cooldown immediately so you can get it twice. That's the same thing with the buff. Like, you could have thrown your axe and picked it up already, right? So we're missing like almost a full auto, like more than a full auto attack of damage already. And in a second, we're going to be missing 2 things of full auto attacks. You could have queued like twice by now, and you've queued 0 times. Why is that? Didn't we talk about this in the last lesson? Where I told you if you're not going to use your Q, you might as well start W.
Yeah, yeah.
What else are you doing? There's literally nothing else to be doing. Press Q. Yeah, okay, so I do have this in our notes. You aren't kiting and you're not using your Q. And so the advanced route of not starting health potions and just getting a control ward is not going to be possible for you until you get this down. And this is something you could be getting down in practice tool in like an hour for sure. So, I mean, you just have to put the time in, man. Like, this is something we already talked about. Like, you're not doing the 2 autos and walk backwards. You're getting hit for every auto. Like, you're kiting here, but you're not kiting based on the timing. And so you're still getting hit every single time you hit them. You did it there, kind of. And you've missed, like, I would have queued like 5 more times than you already. So it's a pretty big difference in terms of DPS. Okay, and we got immediate invaded. Interesting. Alright, cool. So how would this change based on my plan? If we go back to here, to your plan. The biggest difference is going to be that my clear, this thing's already dead if it's me. Like, I just cleared it so much quicker than you that his invade actually doesn't even make sense. He's just abusing the fact that you're not clearing well to do a kind of invade that actually shouldn't work. Now, it is interesting because he's doing it against a champion that typically does intentionally get low. So that invade is actually not that bad of an invade from this bronze player, to be honest. Kind of unfortunate that your teammate disconnected, but again, I want you to remember that if you cleared this first buff correctly, you have like 200 at least more HP. Not to mention you would have killed it earlier, so you probably have more like 300 something more HP right now, and you're already killing the Gromp already, and like you'd probably be getting to the point where you're in the range of killing this Gromp. I wonder if I went into practice tool right now, how quickly would it take me to get to the point where I'm killing the Gromp, or I could smite the Gromp? because we're talking like 30, 20, or 25 seconds into the game, and you had a leash. I think this Gromp should be down. So the main reason why this would be different if it was me would be just the efficiency of my clear on the one camp that you've done would have made such a big difference in my health. In which case, this invade doesn't mean as much, especially if I was able to do it fast enough to smite the Gromp before he was able to get in range. Does that all make sense? Because it's like 1 point, but that 1 point is a very big difference. Like one difference in skill would make an incredible difference in the first 25 seconds of this game. Like you just being better at one thing. Something that we've talked about already too. Yeah? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will say to move on from that point, that the moment I see an Udyr and I'm 0 HP, I'm smiting the Gromp for health and then I'm flashing the wall. And I'm cutting my losses. So, I also just smite flash this immediately. Like, oh, I'm gonna die. Smite flash. You know, just get out immediately. Don't wait for anything. Okay, so what is the hesitation here? Why not flash? Or you just don't want to use your summoner?
Yeah, I already know I'm dead.
You're not dead though. If you smite the Gromp to get the health and then you flash over the wall, you're fine. Or at least you were before. I think he can probably catch up to you at this point. But if you had done it originally, you would have been fine. And I talk about this all the time. And I'm sure I've mentioned it to you before. Like don't save your flash for the last possible moment. Just use it when you know you're boned. Like the moment you're like, oh crap, this is gonna be bad, just flash, man.
Okay.
To learn from our opponent real fast, let me explain to you like how this the Udyr messed up too. The thing that the Udyr should have done differently is that he should have just flash stunned you immediately. Did not give like if you play it correctly where you're going to flash over this wall and smite and try to live, then the way he tries to counter at that is by stunning you before you have the chance to flash. And he had 10 years to do that. And instead waiting for the last possible moment to do that. And so you had all day to flash, and he had all day to flash, and neither of you wanted to flash. That is a classic story of people not high rank at the game. Just wanting to hold on to your summoners for dear life. But your summoners are there for you to bail yourself out of situations. Okay. So if we move forward, like how? Because people ask me this question all the time, right? Like, what do you do when you like get invaded and die, or like when you get behind early? Because you kind of mentioned that earlier, right? You said like you notice when you get a couple kills behind, things get real bad, which is natural. But let's kind of go through that situation right now together. So you spawn. Your opponent is on the Gromp. The likely activities for the Udyr are to after the Gromp is either to do our wolves or to I mean I guess there's three options, right? He either I'll put a different one. He either does the Gromp or does the wolves, goes back to his jungle, or transition ganks middle. Those are like the most common. And so we have to think about what options are best for us that can counter the worst possible option. So the worst possible option is for him to transition gank middle, especially if he kills middle, and then double invade us on the top side. 'Cause that would suck. Because then there's nothing much we can do. They just have more people, right? And so what I'm going to want to see from you is some pings to try to deny this when I see my mid laner pushed up, and I know that the Udyr it's going to be either behind my mid laner or running towards my mid laner. Like the only two options, which are both bad for my mid laner, and my mid laner is hugging the same side as where he's going to come from. You have some responsibility to be pinging on this person and try to remind them that they're killing themselves, right? So there should be some denial of a gank happening. And if you think about it, all I'm doing is the drill over again in real time, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm thinking I already have my idea where all the lanes are going to be because we already saw the lanes. The only thing that really changed the bottom because my Caitlyn DC'd. And then, so I don't have to think about the lanes that much. I already thought about who won. I already talked about how I don't think we win this 2v2, and so we obviously don't win it anymore, or we still don't win it. And then I just go through the drill again. Like I can't counter gank, I can't kill the Udyr. So I can just try to deny gank. I still can't go for a successful gank unless something's changed top, but the game hasn't even been long enough to really see anything's changed. And so all I can try to do is try to deny ganks and still go for a jungle efficiency, right? Alright, so now we have to think about like our jungle efficiency. I think, and that's what you would think about like while you're running. Like while you're running, you just start thinking about this stuff, right? And so again, I think worst case scenario is him going through here and then invading. So I'm probably just running. Yeah, I'll probably just run, do the buff, and then. I'm not sure what I'd decide in the game, but I'm going to try to react to what's going on the map. You're going to get behind, like, no matter what. But let's say he runs through middle. Then if you do 1, 2, 3, then you can end up doing that invade that we were talking about here, right? So you start doing the camps that you know he didn't do. If he goes for, like, a bottom side gank while you're doing this red, then you can go for the invade. And so you'll have some options, but it's going to be reactionary to where you believe that, especially if the Udyr shows himself. This goes back to like, it's such a big deal to show yourself on the map. Like people will hit like the scrying orb and show themselves, or like randomly walk and go sit there killing a ward. Like all of the decisions I make are based off of where my information on where I believe the Udyr is. If I actually know exactly where he is, like 100%, you just made my life like so much easier. So let's see whether the Udyr makes the mistake of really giving me some like free information. Your Morgana is pinging assistance topside. Interesting. It's like 0 chance he could have gotten over here in time. Like he was just bottom, and he didn't run through middle. I know Udyr's fast, but he's not a literal speeding rocket, so it's not actually possible for him to be over here right now.
I think it's because gone Caitlyn. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, she reconnects.
Okay. If anything, something that would have been real useful for you would be to ask for Syndra to ward on this side, so that you can, because if she wards right here, we're gonna definitely see whether Udyr does this rotation, and that way, instead of hoping he messes up and gives us information, we can try to proactively attain that information.
Oh, okay.
Now,
I think I have many things keybind, so I'm gonna have to do that for things.
Yeah, I mean they don't necessarily have to be keybind. Mine are my on my way and my danger ping are both keybind. But they don't have to be. Yo, thanks for following Orangutan. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. Now, what was nice is that both your laners did ward this for you. So if he was doing any fancy option that did lead to an invade, at least your teammates had your back, right? So let's move on. Like, what just happened? Remember, I literally just talked about this like 5 minutes ago, not even. That the Udyr hit the scrying orb and showed you where he was. So now we know he's on the top side, right? And we actually know he's like specifically all the way over here on the top side. And so if we do some just like math on like timings, that means he either did one camp and then rotated, or he backed, right? And so a lot of initial jungle pathing and a lot of tempo is knowing how long things take. So let's go back and just think about time. So again, you die here, and we can still see this guy, so we could be watching him. So he's gonna finish this in like 1 second, right? And so we spawn, and if we're gonna keep going, so it's basically gonna be like 1 minute before he hits the scrying orb. A little bit more than a minute. And just walking, if you did the wolves, just walking from wolves to top side without going through mid is gonna take like 40 seconds. It's gonna take forever. And so whenever he hits the scrying orb here in a moment, there's only so many things he could have done, right? There's only so many options he could have done in that minute and 10 seconds. And so yeah, they did the wolves and then literally ran all the way around like a monkey, which would make no sense. But you're bronze, so maybe that's what you could predict. But for me, it's like either he did the wolves and backed, or he didn't do the wolves. He did his raptors and then he went topside. Those are the only like two things I think make any sense besides literally backing. Yeah. Point being though, is that either way, that means he has cans available on his bottom side. Right? So unless you think you can counter gank top, which I already talked about in the first time we did this, that I can't do that. And then that means instead, what I'm gonna do, so you did this. I'm not gonna run over here because what do you do after this? You can't contest. You can't counter gank. So what are you doing after this? Are you running all the way back down to Gromp? Because you should be assuming your wolves are gone. So I don't like that you're pathing in a way away from all the things you'd want to be doing. All the stuff you want to be doing is down here. This stuff you can't do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you should be pathing towards the bottom where you'd have options. Just like I talked about when we did the original pathing here, is that the reason why this is a good basic path to do consistently is because it gives you the most amount of options.
Okay.
Now we see Olaf, or sorry, I keep mixing you guys up. We see Udyr, so we can see that he bathed. We can see he has 12, or I guess 13 CS in this instance. We already know he had 8 of that from doing his blue buff and doing our Gromp. So that means he's only done 1 camp. So he did 1 camp and he bathed. And he didn't have blue buff, which means I'd probably assume that he did our wolves. I think it's weird that he bathed and then did his Gromp instead of his blue. I think that's very weird. But anyway, I would assume he did our wolves. In which case, I'd be kiting towards the bottom side of the map. Because we have a bunch of information. That's all. I guess that's the important thing to get here. Like, all I'm doing is just gathering more and more information as the game goes on and making new decisions, right? Now, I'm able to attach that information to preconceived information. I understand how long things are going to take, and I have preconceived notions of what the meta is and what people are going to do. And you have to develop that either while you play or in your replay reviews. But in the middle of the game, all your job is to attain new information and then attach it to your framework, right? And in your case, your framework should be the niche jungle pathing. All right, so let's see what options you even have after doing this. Now, things have changed. Like I talked about earlier, things can change. So something changed. This guy's really low. And now I'm pretty confident in winning a 2v2 if you have any healing. Do you have healing? You do. So you have the 2 refillables, which you just started using. I was about to say you should probably use them both. Because the moment I think, oh, I might actually want to fight, you need to start healing up. We have more information of where Udyr is, and now we know he's not top, at least at this very moment. Where are you going? I wonder. Do you know where you're going? Where are you going right now?
I don't remember.
Just use your own like mindset. Well, we know Udyr's in this area, and this guy's pushed up. So where would you go? Where are you going? Where? Yeah.
I was in a call with the top laner.
Did he want to dive?
I think he was thinking about diving. I just don't remember.
Okay. I will say from like an advanced tactic, dying and you being the one dying on the tower is actually not bad. Whenever you trade your life for a laner, if that laner was pushed under tower and it's going to lose a lot of minions, it's normally worth it.
Okay.
But it's more advanced for sure. Because if you fail the dive, obviously it's horrible. But generally, the big issue here is that if you, I believe you can win the 2v2. If Udyr walks up, which is likely because he hasn't done his blue buff yet, and we know that, and we run into him in the river, I'm not liking our chances.
What I found annoying until I got to level 6 was his stun. That was like the only way he could really get me.
Yeah, I mean that's like my primary ability, right? That's his movement speed and his stun. Also, we already knew I'm not sure if you thought the crab was up, but we already knew he did the crab. We saw it earlier. He was on a ward when he did this. So again, I think you made that mistake based on not gathering information. But that's all you should be doing. All you're doing in League of Legends is it should be gathering new information. And so we're seeing the consequence. Oh, that's weird. We're seeing the consequence. By the way, that's also really bad by him. Like, why would he think your camps are still up? What did he think? He think you were AFK for the last 2 minutes? You could. I think this is a great example of like you guys are both just doing things that don't make any sense if you actually think about them. If you think, for the last 2 minutes, after I killed this Olaf bottom, where he was almost guaranteed to go top, what do you think he did for 2 minutes? Just do nothing? And so, him invading makes that late doesn't make any sense. And then 2, you going for a crab that you saw him doing doesn't make any sense. You turning around does make sense though. Oh, you got creep up pretty bad there. Okay, so this is the first time I get to judge you on like your fighting and kiting and sequencing in this game, so let's watch. I will say, this fight, it depends on whether you're going into this fight thinking you can win or not. If you're confident you can win this fight, you could force it. Right? If you throw your axe, then flash your axe, and then throw your axe again, like they can't run away, right? I guess depending on what Garen abilities has, he can technically E and cleanse the slow. But you could force this if you thought you would win for sure. That just depends on how strong do you think the Darius is in this matchup. Again, I'm still worried about the Ignite. Again, I think this matchup is pretty even. Or actually, I would say you guys win naturally, but the Ignite is the scary part. So you can see, I think we might have talked about this in one of your previous lessons as well, where you kind of stopped trying to fight too early. Like you could have hit this Olaf or this Udyr like 1 or 2 times right now if you had just kept walking forward whenever your teammate was walking forward. You could tell that you didn't kite at all during those 2 interactions. Are we gonna wait until we're literally dead before we flash? Yes. Okay, so same mistake as earlier. You can't wait for the last moment to flash. The moment you knew you were in trouble, just get the hell out of there. Which would be now. Like this guy's running up and about to stun you, right? And so you think to yourself, if I get stunned here, am I like in grave danger? If the answer is yes, flash before you get stunned. Again, don't get by the stun and then flash. Basically, the moment I would have got stunned there, I'm not flashing. I'm just gonna take the death. Have we done a lesson on tempo?
Yeah, that was last lesson.
Okay, well, I can even talk about this from a tempo perspective, just to give you one extra bit of how this could have worked out if played like more optimally.
Syndrome?
Yes.
TP?
Yeah. I should just be on your way over here. There should be not only on. So you did all my waypoints. I like that, but the ping should be Syndra is alive. Syndra teleport is available. I need assistance.
Okay.
Because if Syndra right now walks up, walks back, and while you're running at them, she starts teleporting. Then you just flash and throw your Q right on top of them, and then even if you die, they both die. Right? So Syndra would have made this like an absolute 100% free gank for sure. But it requires you to ask, you know?
Okay.
Like you can't expect your teammate to be paying attention to this, like not the mid laner. But if you ping on them, you ping you're on the way top, and you ping that they have teleport. You make you know you paint the story for them to make the right action. And nice. Let's go for like one more situation where not so you've died. So you're definitely behind. You're hella behind right now, right? Now we have information. We know that Udyr didn't back immediately. He walked into that bush. We don't know what he's doing. We know that they don't have flash on the top side. Hold up. Someone's calling me. It was weird. I'm not sure. All right. All right. So what did we do in this situation, right? Now we died second time. We're definitely behind. Again, if I'm the one playing, I thought he did the wolves. I guess the wolves would be back up by the time I'd be at there. And so my job in life right now is to avoid that Udyr, because if I walk into that Udyr, he's gonna clap me, right? Also, if I think it's possible, I want to go for the top lane bounty while I know he has no summoners, and I have teleport on my team, so I can go create. Even if I ran top right now and Udyr ran top, I still have Syndra, and by the time I get there, it'd probably be level 6 Syndra, right? Now I do think it's very. Again, you have to think about the future. Again, I'm applying this information to past information. It's likely that Garen is going to back before I would get there, right? So that means I'm not in a rush to go top immediately because he's probably going to back by the time I get there anyway, right? And so that means you don't have to rush because we're going to use information knowing that it's very likely he's going to back. He has a lot of gold. He's just probably going to push his wave and back, right? That's what everyone does. And so, unless he's horrible. And so you don't have to rush up there. In which case, I'm going, yeah, I like what you're doing here. Now, the Udyr is the one making the mistake. So let's learn from our opponent real fast. If I'm this Udyr, the moment after I killed you guys, I'm backing, I'm buying mobility boost, and I'm running directly bottom lane, right to where you're going. So, because again, he became the ultra hunter after that game, but he has to actually utilize it, you know. So the fact that you have the freedom here to actually go for a bottom side clear into a top side game to get the bounty is kind of a mistake by your opponent, really. Okay, I see that you're actually skipping this to try to go for this crab. Again, I think that's extremely risky because you're gonna run into. I guess you have your bot lane right now. You have your bot lane with priority, which is definitely nice. They're not exactly that threatening with the mana pool and health pool, where I think the Udyr could maybe just clap them. Now, again, if you try to leverage your mid laner's teleport, that might be fine. It depends on which topics are going through your mind. But like, this is so risky. Like, you're pushing this crap away from your bottom side in towards the mid. Like, what if Udyr's just in this bush? Why can't he be in this bush? And then we just get our ass beat. And then he pushes you out of your bot side, or you have to pull your laners back to you, which they don't want to do because they want it back as well. Your bot lane wants it back. So it's either you're gonna get screwed or your bot lane is gonna get screwed because you're making a very high risk decision. That was not even necessary. Like, just don't get the crab. Just do the grump and the wolves. So I don't like this at all. It's like you gave no credit to the Udyr to be on the bottom side, which I'm not sure why you want to give him any credit. Again, I just don't think you're tracking. You're even still running in his direction, which like you're not free. What if he just bats? So let's just go back. Let's see how much gold he had. which he should have bagged, like I mentioned already. So boom, double assist. He has 700 gold. He backs. He buys boots and just some kind of component, and then he runs bottom and he has boots and he's Udyr, so he's gonna be bottom like in no time at all, right? And then again, you don't know that he's gonna go back. You just know that he walked into the bottom side bush. And so I don't know why you want to give any credit to him being over here, especially for as long as you did. Because not only did you not think he was there then, you still don't think he's over here because you're still running into a champion that you should have a problem against. Yeah, so this invade, I think this is a great. Like, either you're thinking something very, very, very different from me, in which case I would want you to show me that in your pings in game. Do the tracking drill. Show me where you think he is, so I can see that what your actions are based off of. Because this doesn't make any sense to me. Like this is so risky. Like you die, you're 0-2, and you're invading the hunter. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't add up. Unless we knew for a fact the hunter wasn't here, but we don't know that for a fact. We don't know anything, and yet you're doing a jungle camp in his jungle. Now we see his top, so it paid off for you here. But just generally, that kind of decision making is what's going to get you killed, and you're going to start inting instead of just being behind. Being behind is okay. Inting is the problem. What up, Code Flare? I've been streaming a lot lately, and I streamed a lot like 2 months ago. Okay, where are you going? Okay, out by the skin of your teeth. Extremely risky play. I do think you had a pretty cool opportunity of ganking bottom, by the way. So again, so long as you actually utilize the fact that your Syndra had teleport, you've had a lot of opportunities. Anytime one team has teleport and the other team doesn't, the team with teleport normally has a crap ton of tempo for a very long time until the teleport is used. Okay, so it's obvious that you need to start tracking the enemy jungler, right? Yeah. I've seen more pings from your teammates on where Udyr is than I have seen from you. Morgana has pinged where he is. Syndra's been pinging where he might be. You're not even thinking about where he is because you're just letting people run into you. Also, he hit the scrying orb, so he actually knew he was here. Because we see everyone else on his team. So the only person that could have possibly hit it was Udyr. Right? And so I should have seen you at least take a guess as to which way you think he's going to go. It's much more likely he's going to walk this way than this way. So, but again, you're not even worried about that. Also, this is a good time to talk about line of scrimmage, which I streamed earlier. If our threat is here, the line of scrimmage is here. Unfortunately, we can't flash, which means we just have to try to go in the most away direction as possible, which is this direction. You instead try to go through your opponent and let him get on top of you, which again, if you're using the line of scrimmage concept, you should understand that your safety is almost always perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. It's almost always directly away from your threat. So the fact that you ran towards him shows a lack of understanding, or just just being caught off guard and just freaking out. But even if that's the case, if you're caught off guard and freaking out, I wonder what you were looking at when you hit this scrying orb. Like, did you have your shop open? Did you have tab open? You probably should have even heard the sound effect, right? So again, I would say most of your mistakes are information gathering mistakes. I would say most of your mistakes are just you not gathering the information being presented to you in the game. And then the fundamental mistake that started you into this trouble was you didn't get down your clearing, and that's something you should definitely have down. Like, if anything that you can do in practice tool and just grind shouldn't be something that's holding you back anymore. Like, just spend that time in practice tool and get that down. That's pretty much it. I think we're at an hour here. Again, most of it is information gathering. Most of it, like you either not gather information of where the jungler has been, not gathering information about who has teleport and who doesn't, not pinging where the enemy jungler could be. It's just information that you're not keeping in track in your mind, and that's what really needs to change. You have to play the game like very cognizant of like of the information being presented to you, which was a lot. We talked about that a lot in this hour. Like how much new information was given to you, right?
Okay.
So how are we going to work on that? Again, we can do the jungle tracking. I mean, doing the initial jungle pathing drill, and watching our replays and reviewing that drill, it's just going to naturally improve at this. Doing the jungle tracking drill, where every time you do an action, you ping on where your opponent is and what action they're doing. It's going to like you can't possibly not think about where the enemy jungler is while you're doing the drill that requires you to ping where the enemy jungler is. So there are definitely like functional, actionable drills you can do to work on this. Okay.
Okay.
You have any final question, comments, concerns?
No.
All right. Go out there again, play a few more games of Olaf. Let me know how they go, and then update me around 25 games. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you next time.